Hi, everyone. It's Coach Beard. We're going to do a relatively short talk about leadership in ice hockey. So I'm going to do most of this through a keynote presentation. I know everyone's favorite, basically a Zoom recording, because nowadays, who doesn't love Zoom? But I think this is the best way to get some of the information across to you. And, if you want to put it in the background while you're working out or rolling or stretching, that's fine. But I'll send out a PDF that goes along with this too if you want to read in a little bit more. But it's going to cover some of the nuts and bolts, meat and potatoes that will apply to what it is that we're trying to do. All right, so let's go ahead and hit up a little screen share here. And there we go. So leadership in hockey. So what to expect today? We're going to talk about 8 traits of leaders. I'm going to ask you to do a brief reflection exercise. Don't worry, nothing written. And then we're going to talk about 5 types of leaders. Again, a reflection, nothing that you need to put down or do, but just you can ask yourself to answer these questions. I think that will be helpful for you. All right, let's dive in. 8 traits of leaders. We're going to name each one, and then I'm going to go and talk about each one for a few minutes. So effort, execution, competitor, strong-willed, fearless, selfless, leads from the front, and or leads from the back. Here we go. Number 1, effort is high. Now, for leaders, this is evident. Their energy level is going to be up top. They are going to be putting their near max effort, if not max effort, at all times. Now, that's going to do a few things as a leader that's going to help you get better by putting in your effort and energy at any opportunity you get. But you're also going to pull others along with you. You might have heard the expression, you can't push a rope. When you're a leader, you've got to pull people along with you. You need that energy to be able to do that. And if you're not putting all your energy into something, people will notice that, and it's going to be a much harder time to pull them where you want to go. So whether that's in preparing for games, whether it's at practice, and definitely when you're competing, the effort level is got to be through the roof. Execution. Now, there's a wrestler back in the 80s called Bret Hart, and his nickname was the excellence of execution. So we want to make sure that your execution is excellent. You want to do your job. Now, you have to understand what your job is. Now, whether that's a forecheck, whether that's covering a certain player in a power penalty kill, whether it's as a goaltender stopping the puck and setting up for someone on the power play breakout, whether it's picking up the pucks before practice or putting the nets away or helping the coach with his stuff. You want to understand what your expectations are and do that excellently. Know what the neutral zone regroup is, understand what the forecheck is, and then do it right. Now, leaders are competitors. They're very difficult to play against. They don't want to lose. They want to win. They want to win one-on-one battles with in the corners. They want to finish every play with a goal. If you're a defender, you want to stop people from scoring. Now, this is going to transfer over to competitive situations against other teams. And in practice, this is something that you can see. They're very difficult to play against. Whether you're up in a game or down in a game, a competitor is going to take all those little battles, focus on those small little ones right there, and try to win every single chance that they get. Leaders are strong-willed. They're resilient. They're tough. When I think about this, I think of Mark Messier, who's the only person in the NHL to captain 2 different teams to a Stanley Cup championship. So they won 5 Stanley Cups with Edmonton, and in '94 won one with the New York Rangers as a first ballot Hall of Famer. He was pretty impressive. But here's sheer will to pull the team along with him and basically hook and hack and slash his team to that victory, along with 4 game-winning goals in that playoff series. It was a playoff stretch. It was pretty amazing. But his will to win, even if they were down or they had lost a couple games for the season, he was mentally tough and could come back. So someone's will to win, someone to pick themselves up when they've been down, is definitely a trait of a leader. Someone who is fearless. Now, they'll deliver body checks, they'll receive body checks, they'll go to those dirty, gritty, grimy, tough to play in areas, usually in front of the net, and then they'll get it done. They'll take that hit to get the pass off. They'll definitely step up and put someone on their ass if they need to in front of the net, if they're hacking the goalie. But they are fearless. They're going up against bigger players. They're going in situations where they're outnumbered, and they are showing courage, even though they might be a little scared. Now, leaders can also be selfless. The concept of servant leadership. Leaders are about picking everyone else up around you to get to a common goal. It's one thing to sort of be a star and to get the attention and to be in the spotlight, but a leader is really looking to pick everyone else up because they're not worried about the credit. So as a leader, they're usually thinking, how can I help other people? How can I help my line mates? How can I help my team through this drill, through this tryout, through this game, through this season? What can they do to serve and to help others? And you see this in industry and you see it in athletics. Those who are looking to help and pick everyone else up are going to be extremely effective as leaders. Leaders can lead from the front. Now, the type of leader who is going to be leading from the front is vocal. If you are not executing, they are letting you know. If they are open and they want to pass, they're letting you know. If you do a good job, they are letting you know. Now, leaders who are leading from the front also perform. They might be your stars. They're going to be the ones that are going to execute come through big time when the game is on the line. They're going to make that big play. They're going to get that 60-foot back check when they chase someone down from behind. They're going to go ahead and tough someone in front of the net, and they're going to score those tough goals. They are definitely going to perform. But that can come down to practice too. It can be executing in the small little breakout pass. It can be making the right decisions when you're on the forecheck. Leaders who are leading from the front are definitely holding others accountable as well. There's this acceptable level of performance and effort. And if you're not there, the leader's going to let you know about it. We also have leaders as our 8th trait of leadership that can lead from the back. We're not always in a position of leading from the front, especially if you're an underclassman or you're newer to a team or you're still crafting or developing your skills. Now, someone who is leading from the back is always prepared. They understand the drill. They understand their responsibilities during drills. They understand their responsibilities in the game. And when they have that opportunity to execute, they do perform. So whether that's making sure that the coach's puck bag is out on the ice before practice, or you're clearing the nets afterwards, or that you're going in to bring a little bit of energy into a game, if the team is getting a little flat, they understand what is expected of them, and then they perform when that time comes. And they're definitely going to push others. So if you're leading from the back, that's going up against the best players on the team and pushing and challenging them. Don't lay off. Don't just let them roll over you. Push them. It's going to help them get better, and you're going to get better by competing against better players as well. So these are 8 traits of leadership, and we're going to do a brief reflective exercise here. First question that I have for you with the reflection: don't need to write it down, don't need to type it up. You can if you want, but at least want you to answer this question: is how do you lead? Based off of those 8 traits, what are some of the things that you do? You can pause if you want, or you can continue on. Now, how can you lead? Based off of those traits there, what are some things that you could do that you're not doing right now? Suggest that you pause and think about it a little bit more. And then the real question is, what will you do? There's a difference in life when people say they're going to do something, when people have the ability and they can do it, but when people actually execute and do what they can. So how will you lead? What are these traits that you are going to go ahead and grasp on and apply, not next season, not in the off season, but right now in your next practice, in your next game? I guarantee you can find some of those traits and you can apply them to make a difference for yourself and your teammates. That's the end of the first part of the presentation. Let's transition to the 5 types of leaders, which are performance leaders, locker room leaders, social leaders, organizational leaders, and reserve leaders. Now, performance leaders, sometimes called competition captains, they have a noticeable and admirable work ethic. They're on time for practice. They're first on the ice. They're last off the ice. They're working out. They're crafting their game. They're studying films. They're putting the time in to get better and to help lift the team up. They usually have strong vocal leadership. If the team needs a kick in the pants, they're giving it to them. If they're calling out a breakout or a forecheck, they're the voice that you can hear. They're oftentimes thought of as the coach on the ice because they understand everything that's going on around them, and they can execute at a high enough level to make a difference in the game. Performance leaders are definitely serious about success. They want to win. They want to compete. They want to get the drill right. They want to execute at a high level so they're prepared to compete and execute and win when it comes down to it playing against another team. And they're definitely results oriented. whether that's in small group games where you're competing 2-on-2, 3-on-3, whether it's just even a 1-on-1 drill. They want to win. They want to get that puck. They want to put it in the back of the net. They want to stop someone else from scoring. They want to win in a foot race, and they want to win games. They want to win leagues, and they want to win championships. They are serious about success, and they're results oriented. Locker room leaders, sometimes called culture captains. They can determine and dictate what is acceptable and unacceptable as far as culture within the locker room. Now, you're going to have different teams that have different types of culture, different ethos, different levels of acceptability. But in some team locker rooms where they swear like sailors from the coach all the way down, and there's some of the crudest language that I've ever heard happening within the locker room and on the bench, and people are swearing and foul mouth and nasty. And I've been in others, and you might hear a damn or heck or darn. It's the culture. I'm not saying one is right and one is wrong, but the people that determine the culture understand what is acceptable and unacceptable. And these culture captains help to enforce that. They mold it, they shape it, they monitor it, and maintain the team's culture. So if someone brings in something from the outside and it doesn't quite fit, you got to let them know that, and you shape that, you support that. The New England Patriots are famous for that, about their veteran leadership in the locker room and the Patriot way, having players come in from the outside and them just saying, this is just how we do things here. Now, locker room leaders contribute leadership beyond their physical talent. You don't have to be in the top two lines. You don't have to be the best player to understand what the culture is and support and to grow that culture within the locker room. Now, culture captains will engage as well as confront teammates. Now, engage isn't always accusing people. It's finding out what's going on in other players' lives. Are they having a hard time at home? Are they struggling in school? Is a family member sick? Are they trying out for another sports team? You got to know what's happening in their lives. You got to care for them beyond the hockey locker, but the ice and the bench. But you also got to confront them. So if they're carrying that culture and that behavior and it's not acceptable, if they're doing stuff that's reflecting negatively on the team, you got to call them on it. They definitely take pride in their team and its culture. And the locker room leaders understand what that is, shape it, craft it, and hold other people to those expectations. Social leaders are chemistry captains. A little bit tougher these days to get together with the little pandemic that we have going on right now. But social leaders lead the charge on building and maintaining your team's chemistry. This is critical, whether it's how people sit and interact in the locker room when you're dressing outside of the rink, it's getting together outside of school, within school, after school, team dinners when those are kind of in vogue and when you can do those, whether it's team workouts. They're the ones that are inviting and plugging people in. I can think about some guys, senior year in high school that were on our team that didn't play a ton, but they were definitely the social leaders that were setting up events, and whether it be parties or whether it was just connecting people with events in the schools or getting the hockey guys to show up for a home basketball game, as they were leading the charge there. They were pulling us together and trying to get us to do things to build morale and camaraderie. Effective social leaders are going to build strong relationships with subgroups in the team. Now, there's not a separation between seniors and freshmen. We don't want a separation between D and forwards or tendies and everybody else. Is you want to get to know these different subgroups. So whether it's kids from different parts of the town, whether it's kids that play different position or that have different years of sort of service in the organization from JV up through varsity, social leaders are going to get to know everyone up and down that roster. They're going to be able to connect and include younger players. Gone are the olden days of hazing people and treating people poorly when they get an opportunity to play on varsity. It's not what we want to do. We want to bring these new kids in. We want to get them comfortable. We want to raise them up. We want to set the tone, let them know what's acceptable, let them know what the standards are, hold them accountable, but build them up to succeed. That's going to help you be a better leader, and it's going to set them up for success as well as the organization as years go by. Organizational leaders are our campus captains. These individuals represent your team on campus and in the community. Now, this isn't always your best performer, and it's not always necessarily your socialite, and it's not always necessarily the ones that are connecting everyone culture-wise in the locker room, but maybe this is someone who exceeds academically. The standard expectations for the school is they're good students. Maybe they're involved in student athlete advisory boards. They're talking with athletic directors. They're talking to principals. They're organizing public service initiatives. They're doing outreach plans. They're the ones, the front-facing members of your program. They might be volunteering time with local youth organizations that might be doing cleanups at parks. There's so many service opportunities to sort of act as ambassadors for the team outward, because they're the ones that are going to go ahead and explain what the internal culture is about. So that's something that your campus, your school, your town can be proud of when you have the right people that are out facing when they're explaining, expressing, and representing of the things that are internally important to the program. And lastly, but not leastly, are our reserve leaders or sub captains. You know, great reserve leaders have a sense of pride in their group's unique role. Now, this could be a fourth line that doesn't get a ton of time in games. You know who those guys are, right? When they get a chance to get in the game, everyone's excited to see them get a shift. They're out there, the buzz around, they're flying around. When there are fans in the stands, people are chanting for them. People show up with signs wanting to put Kevin. You know, they're the team, they're the guys that you root for, that you want to see out there and to bring some energy and excitement, even though they're not in there all the time. You got to take some pride in that role. That might be that third and fourth line group that always gets put in against the first line when the first line's practicing PK or PP or the forecheck, and they just need someone to go against. You got to have some energy. You got to go ahead and build some morale. You go ahead and push starters, but take pride in that. Take pride in that role and that opportunity you have. And when you're going hard against the better players, when you're going to get better. When you go hard against the better players, they're going to get better. So they can't just waltz through a drill. So they're going to be ready for the game. It's going to help the team succeed. But understanding those smaller roles as sub-captains, when you have your time to shine, it's critical, whether it's in practice, preparation, getting water bottles, putting nets away, carrying pucks. The glory doesn't matter. We're talking about picking everyone else up here, and the reserve and the sub leaders have their huge role in that as well. So to review, we have our 5 types of leaders: performance leaders, locker room leaders, social leaders, organizational leaders, and reserve leaders. And just a couple of reflection questions for you here right now, and then we'll wrap it up. Is right now on your team, who are your performance leaders? Hopefully you've got at least 2 or 3 that you can identify. Who are your locker room leaders? They might be the same people, they might be different. Who are your social leaders? Not usually the same person in those 3 roles. Who are your organizational leaders? Maybe they fill a couple of those other buckets too. And then who are your reserve leaders? And off of this is understanding the 8 traits that we talked about that can help you develop into these different types of leaders. And these are things that you can take and apply right away. So we talked about 8 traits of leaders. We practice a reflective exercise to understand where you are in your leadership development, how you can grow, and what you can do immediately to impact leadership on your team. We talked about 5 types of leaders and understanding who on your team is filling what role, and maybe identifying where you are or where you can contribute. Because understanding your development as a player is a holistic experience. So I've got one quote on here from Derek Jeter, and I know, right? New York Yankees, not my favorite dude in the world, but he did it right. He was a classy guy. He was extremely successful. There may be people with more talent than you, but there's no excuse for anyone not working harder than you do. And that is a great line from Jeets there. Because when you're thinking about your development as a person, as an athlete, there's so much that goes into that. Sleep, hydration, nutrition, if you choose spirituality, learning, education, your role in the community, your familiar relationships, your social relationships, your strength, your conditioning, your understanding of symptoms, of systems, you're watching game film, you're connecting with other players, your athletic development and other programs. That's really understanding this 360 development as an individual. And as you grow and develop as a person, all those traits come back and help you be a more successful player. And then as you're a more successful player, you're understanding your leadership roles and how you can grow and contribute immediately. So I hope this has helped you identify some of the things that you're already doing, or some things that you can do right now, and perhaps some things you can grow to in the future. But I really appreciate your time. I understand that everyone's got a lot of videos to watch these days. But if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. I'm Coach Beard. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.